welcome to the channel. I am Deborah. This is Purusha Intuitive, and we are doing our weekly astrology. So I hope things are going well for you. We just went into Mercury retrograde on April 21st. So that, if you're not familiar, that really deals with communication, whether that's through technology, face-to-face, what we don't say to each other, etc. As well as like our daily activities. We often see things kind of go wonky during Mercury retrograde. I'm sure you guys have heard technology can kind of just decide to give out at random times. And, sometimes that even happens between relationships, friends, people we haven't seen in a while, etc. Those things come to the surface. Retrograde is really an opportunity for us to, just kind of reflect, take a deep dive into what's going on in our life, what we might need to become a little bit better at, i.e. communication in our daily activities, etc. And maybe the things that we need to walk away from. I apologize because I've been promising a Mercury retrograde video. I just didn't get to it this weekend, unfortunately, but my plan is to upload today. So stay tuned for that if you want a little more information, especially from that astrological perspective. What I will say is throughout the majority of Mercury retrograde, it's in conjunction with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of innovation, rebellion, the revolutionary. It can be chaotic. It's often linked to the Tower and Mars energy, where if we're not careful, it can be really destructive. However, if we tap into that ingenuity, that ability to be, really inventive, creative, kind of stepping into that land of potential, then it's actually a really positive and affirming energy. So especially with it in conjunction to Mercury during this Mercury retrograde, when things come up, there might be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to rebel, to kind of say F you, or, especially if it's rubbing us the wrong way. Let's say we have someone from the past coming back, trying to rehash things however it might fare in your specific situation. If we don't like it, we could easily be like, yeah, screw you, all right? But I think what I'm kind of hearing is there's this opportunity to be a little bit more inventive and creative with how we play things. It doesn't mean that we have to be a doormat and let people walk all over us. The chances of that, it's like 50-50, especially with the astrology for the next week. There's some aspects that are going to kind of make it difficult and challenging, but then there's also a lot of potential underneath. This, if you've been following along with the astrology, this is kind of the theme, right? We're just in Aries season. That's the beginning of the zodiac new year. It really encourages us to focus on ourselves, who we are, what we want out of our life, how we want to show up to relationships, hobbies, career, potential, etc. And, kind of do some of the refining work. Mercury retrograde is allowing us to shed some of that energy. We're in Taurus season right now. Happy birthday to anyone celebrating this week. Sending all the love and blessings. I hope it's fabulous. Anytime the sun is in our zodiac house, it's such an amazing, fortunate, abundant time to shine, to just be the best version of yourself. So I'm just wishing all the blessings in your endeavors, that you feel loved and celebrated, for the amazing soul you are. We all deserve that, right? To be honored, even if we're not feeling so great. I think sometimes the hard thing about life, or if we're cognizant, if we're aware, if we kind of dabble in the larger life meaning, dharma, our life path, etc., the quandary can be really how do we authentically show up in life, in regards to who we are, who we want to be, and then still kind of fighting against the outside pressures, what people, places, and things have kind of communicated to us, etc. Taurus season is such a great time to ground into ourselves a little bit more, right? In Aries season, we set the tone. This is who I am. This is how I want to be in my life. These are the things I want to do or accomplish, no matter how big or small. And then Taurus season, we actually start working with that manifestation practically. Taurus is an earth energy. It rules the second house of money and possessions. So it's all about like our day-to-day, you know, and what's in our world and what's around us. And, you know, we have, okay, so let's look at some of these charts. So obviously with the sun being in Taurus, we walk into this week with a huge focus on our healing. The sun is in conjunct to the North Node. So that actually is our life path and what we should be ascribing to. South Node is the karma we bring in. North Node is where we should be heading. We're seeing it a little bit clearer is what that essentially means. You know, with the sun in Taurus, the North Node is in Taurus as well. You know, it's like I was saying, it's again that confirmation of really grounding into what you want, bringing it into life, right? Into manifestation. The sun also has a positive aspect tomorrow to the 25th to Saturn. Saturn is what makes us do the work. Basically, with the moon, we see it moving through Cancer, Leo, Virgo for this week. So it's kind of like Saturn is showing us what we really want. We're going to be having things that kind of trigger our emotions, our feelings about what makes us feel supported and nurtured. So if we are in situations that do not feel good, that is going to be fairly evident, especially at the beginning of the week. What I like though is that sun sextile to Saturn, the moon in Leo, is it actually gives us a little bit of an ignition to say, you know what though, I still deserve, right? I don't deserve the negative. I deserve to enjoy my life, to be, you know, empowered, to feel strong, brave, etc. Do what I gotta do. So that Leo energy is gonna give us the drive to make things happen. With Mercury square to Black Moon Lilith, that's kind of towards the end of the week. That's where it might get a little bit tricky. You know, because I think it's really easy to kind of identify what we want. But then when we get like tested, if you want to call it that, it's just basically like the universe, spirit, God, making sure that we really want what we say we want. Is the test, right? So Black Moon Lilith will kind of throw something in our face. Like, are you sure? Are you sure you're done with that? Are you sure you're not going to repeat that cycle? And with Mercury in retrograde, it's going to make it difficult, right? To not be tempted or kind of pulled into the BS, you know? Especially if you haven't really healed that part, right? The part of yourself that wants to be loved and accepted and cared for, etc. We all want that, right? But a lot of times what we're attracting in our life is, you know, a reflection of what's inside of us. Venus gives us a really beautiful energy to kind of help along with that healing. That is Venus sextile to Chiron on the 25th. So even though, you know, like I was saying earlier, even though there are some hard patterns to change, the hard patterns are the things how we want people to see ourselves, right? It's not that easy to say F you to someone you don't really care about, you know, obviously. But to do it as someone that you do really care about, or you do want their validation, you want their acceptance, you want them to think a certain way about you, that's a little bit harder, right? Our knee-jerk reaction is going to want to fight or prove our point or justify, etc. But the reality is, if we tap into Just that energy of what truly makes me feel good, not that superficial, like, you know, how life looks at you. Oh, you have, you know, whatever it is, money, cars, women, men, whatever it is for you. You know, that's going to be, like I said, a little bit of the challenge. And that Cancer energy that I was talking about earlier, Mars is in Cancer right now. So it's kind of hard because we want to push forward in the things that we care about, that we're passionate about, but there's something still restraining us. That restraint is coming from the growth and the learning lessons. But as the week progresses, like I said, there's going to be some harmony with that Saturn aspected to the Sun, the North Node as well. So it's like we make peace is what I'm hearing. You know, you see some stuff happen, people saying a thing, doing a thing, a situation doesn't work out. It sucks, but you're able to say, you know what? It is what it is. This is the silver lining. I have these other options over here, so I'm going to focus my energy on that. You know, and again, that is really contingent on us being a little bit more grounded in ourselves. I think we're aware, we're knowledgeable about the things that are changing in our life. I think we just have to admit them to ourselves, right? And just, you know, that's like half the battle. Oftentimes we want to resist or hold on to or see if we can figure a thing out that doesn't really work. And this energy is really pushing towards releasing those things. It's just the emotions are getting in the way a little bit. As we're closing the week out, Saturn is an opposition to the moon, which basically means that if we're not taking care of ourselves. So the moon is in Virgo. Virgo is our health, our wellness, our daily routine, how we show up, how we treat ourselves, honor ourselves, self-love, self-care, etc. If we're not doing that work, then the emotions are going to overtake. Pisces is in, or Saturn's in Pisces, which is a super emotional sign. So it can make things just feel really overwhelming or seem worse than what they actually are. A lot of that is coming from, you know, like I said, kind of that resistance towards the change. We have these certain ways we want things to look. And I think human nature, ego is really good at trying to force the agenda, but sometimes it just doesn't work, you know. And if you're holding on or you feel like you are, this is a great time to release and let go. Like I said, with that Mercury in retrograde, it's really going to help you be aware of, you know, not only in your heart and your mind and your soul, but also in the things that are happening in your daily life, right? Like actually retrograde, I will pull that out because that just popped up to me. People will pop up and like physically say things to you and show you that like, hey, you know, like it's basically confirming what you feel in your heart, mind, and soul. And it's our job to be, Kamismi is when it's like into the heart. So it's when planets align in the closest possible aspect and it brings things to the surface, right? It forces us to see because it is completely illuminated. So let's pull a few cards for the week. Stay tuned for the Mercury retrograde last quarter final push, guys. I love this. Definitely like, share, subscribe if it resonated with you, if you enjoy the videos. If you have any constructive feedback, I would love to hear. Let's build and grow that community. Yeah, so things are changing, and I feel like that's the, going back, confirming what I was saying. It's the humming underneath the surface. You're in the final throes of it. And it's just making sure that you're not dipping back to old patterns. Yeah, exactly, with that Lilith confirmation, Black Moon Lilith. The north or the south node is also in Scorpio, which Pluto governs. So that's kind of like when we give way to our desires. It's our karma, right? So maybe like kind of our like bad behavior comes to the surface, and we have to temper that a little bit, you know? But that's what this time is, right? Aquarius, governed by Uranus. We just talked about this as well. That energy of being inventive, rising above. You're in the final throes. So usually, oops, I lost that. Oh yeah, I lost that Black Moon Lilith card, like cut her out. So it's going to be this week of like, you know, really kind of putting your money where your mouth is. That's like the best way I can say it. It's depending on how your chart is aspected to these transits will really dictate where things are happening in your life, how it makes you feel, how it, you know, etc. Definitely reach out if you want a reading. I do personal astrology, tarot readings, energy healings, mediumships, all that fun jazz. Thanks so much for tuning in. Definitely thumbs up, guys. It helps support and grow the channel. Lots of love and blessings. Thank you for listening. See you soon.